Hello, 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 friends. Welcome to the Problematic FMC podcast, a show for readers who are here for the plot, who absolutely judge books by their covers, and who have no issues with unlikable characters. This episode is for all things NetGalley. I have made a list of 12 tips I've learned since starting my NetGalley account that I wish I'd known sooner. I hope this serves as a useful rundown of best practices that will help you out whether you're a NetGalley pro or you're just curious what it would take to get started. Let's jump right into the show. NetGalley is an online library where publishers of digital content, most commonly ebooks and audiobooks, give exclusive access to their materials. This is usually early access to books before their launch date, often referred to as Advanced Reader Copies or ARCs, pronounced ARCs, in hopes that the early readers will tell their friends and share about the products online to drum up buzz. I have been using their service for a few years now, and I'm still learning new things every day. Please note that some of these things I'm sharing are true at the time of this recording, but future updates to the platform may change them. And of course, for every rule, there are bound to be exceptions. What works for me may not work best for everyone. With that in mind, here's my list of 12 NetGalley tips I wish I had known before starting. NetGalley tip number 1. You do not need to have a huge audience. I put off joining NetGalley for longer than I should have because I did not think anyone would want to send their books to an account as small as mine. I think I kind of felt like I would even be wasting their resources by asking. Why should they take their time with my request when all of about 30 people may interact with my post for it? When I finally signed up for NetGalley, my rationale was, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. It is true that some publishers will only approve the accounts with large followings or influencers they have a previous relationship with. I've never heard a hard and fast number for how many they're looking for. Some say that many publishers won't consider any accounts with less than 1,000 followers or viewers. Some say 5,000. Some say 100,000. However, since I've started my NetGalley account, I've been surprised at some of the popular titles I've scored, and I've seen friends with accounts newer than mine was at the time I finally made the leap that get approved for ARCs left and right. Regardless of how many people a publisher hopes to reach by working with you, they simply want to get their books into the hands of people that are likely to enjoy their books. Smart marketers know that quality is more important than quantity when it comes to finding spokespeople to rep their brand. Giving a book to a person who is hungry for that exact type of story, even if that person is only sharing with a few of their in-real-life friends, will have a much greater impact than sending the book to an influencer who's highly in demand and has a list of 10 other ARCs they're promoting that week. NetGalley tip number 2. Start with some freebies to establish your ratio. NetGalley recommends that you keep your ratio of approved to reviewed books above 80%. This means that you should have read and provided feedback on at least 4 out of the 5 of the books you have in your NetGalley shelf. The fastest way to build this ratio when you first start your account is to read at least 4 of the products offered in the Listen Now or Read Now sections. These will be available to download and start reading or listening to as soon as you add them, no approval needed. Then, when you go to request regular NetGalley products that publishers will have to approve before you begin reading, you will already have a cushion that will prevent your ratio from dropping down to 0. Getting 4 freebies under your belt will allow you to request one, and you will still have a 4 out of 5 or 80% feedback ratio. Once you review that one, you can request another and continue building up your numbers. NetGalley tip number 3. Archive dates don't have to be a deadline. NetGalley is kind of hush-hush about what happens after the archive date of a book, but the good news is that you can still review it after it's archived. The archive date is only when they will close it from new requests. Most importantly, if you are approved, then the archive date is the last date you can download the book. Whether it's an audio or an ebook, as soon as you get approved, make sure you download it. send it to your Kindle or the phone app, or however you intend to consume it. The main goal is to get it in your hands immediately after you're approved. Once you have it downloaded, your access will not end, and you can review it at any time. Not every book has an archive date, but I would still recommend downloading as soon as you're approved, just in case the publisher adds an archive date later. On the flip side, though, NetGalley tip number 4. Prioritize based on publication dates. Although archive dates do not have to be deadlines, it is courteous to get your review posted as soon as possible. Posting your review, be it on Goodreads, Storygraph, or the book reviewing platform of your choice, and then of course within NetGalley itself, is the most direct way to spread buzz about the book. Posting these reviews, even less than 5-star reviews, before the publication date signals to retailers that a book is discussable and generating attention. NetGalley tip number 5. Keep in mind that publishers can see your activity on other books. Everything that you post on NetGalley is public. This includes your ratings and reviews. Publishers can see the average of all books you've ever rated through NetGalley, and of course, all of your other social platforms, including Goodreads, are discoverable if publishers really wanted to be super thorough. While some publishers will take more time to screen requests than others, you should assume that any publisher you request from will look through other books you've requested, how many of those you've provided feedback for, and what you thought about them. If you absolutely trashed a book that's really similar to the one you're requesting, a publisher who does their homework will likely decline your request. If you've never requested any books like that before, a publisher may see you as more of a wild card. If there's a limited number of arcs to go around, publishers may favor users with higher average ratings just as a numbers game, hoping to get readers that are more generous with their stars. By no means am I suggesting that anyone should rate books higher than they deserve, and publishers do value honest, thoughtful feedback. However, as a reviewer, I always try to be mindful of how my online presence looks from the publisher's perspective. NetGalley tip number 6. Do not request changes as if you were a beta reader. If you post your review early enough, it may possibly sway last-minute edits by the publisher, but you should not expect that to happen. It's one thing to mention in your review that you weren't a big fan of how a book ended, or point out some pieces that could have been edited more thoroughly. It's quite another thing to word feedback in such a way that you expect that an author will take action based on your comments. That is a completely different type of reviewer called a beta reader, which gets involved much earlier in the process. Authors hand-select these beta readers to provide feedback and suggestions during the drafting steps. A beta reader may fit a certain demographic group that makes their input valuable to the writer, or may have an established relationship with someone on the production team. An ARC reader's role, on the other hand, really is to share upcoming books they're excited about with their audience. NetGalley tip number 7. Be aware of how your rating may impact the average if there's only a few other raters. Early ratings carry much more weight statistically than ratings of books that have hundreds of thousands of stars already. For example, if 3 people rate a book 4 stars and I come in and rate it 1 star, then the average rating of that book is 3.25, which is basically a death notice on Goodreads. However, if I give a 1-star rating to a super buzzy book that has lots of other people giving it ratings also, then my feedback will not even change the average we see. On the flip side, this early weight is absolutely a reason to give all the stars to an arc that you love on every platform. That 5-star review can make an emerging author's day, and go a long way on convincing someone else to pick up the book. Again, I would never suggest giving an author pity stars or misleading your audience. This is just something to be aware of. NetGalley tip number 8. You can get on a publisher's auto-approved list. Publishers have the option to automatically approve any requests from contacts they list in their accounts. For any books offered by publishers that have you on their auto-approved list, you'll be able to access their books as soon as you press request. The best way to attract a publisher's attention is to review their books and provide thoughtful, enthusiastic feedback, so they'll want to work with you again in the future. You can see which publishers, if any, have auto-approved you in NetGalley by selecting Find Titles in the top menu navigation, then selecting the Auto Approvals link under the Browse section. I have some screenshots that can help you find this on the episode's transcript, linked in the show notes. NetGalley tip number 9. Use lists to your advantage. You can add books to a list without requesting them. You may want to do this if you're interested in a book, but need to wait a minute while you review some others to optimize your ratio. You may also do this to make your request more attractive to the publisher. If they see that you added their book to a list named something like Books I'm Very Excited For, or if you categorize it alongside several other books that you've rated highly, then you're signaling to publishers that you have a high likelihood of enjoying their book. If you do not get approved for the book, you may still want to keep it on your radar as something you're interested in reading when it does publish. NetGalley tip number 10. Some publishers do not use NetGalley. While NetGalley is the leading ARC provider, not every soon-to-be-published book in the world is offered on there. If you have your eye on a specific future release that you're not finding on NetGalley, all the large publishing houses have an email inbox that you can reach out to requesting an advanced copy. Let them know who you are, where they can find you online, and why you're interested in that book in particular. Make sure to make your case about what you can do to help them by keeping the focus on how you want to spread the word about the book. If you're requesting a physical copy, go ahead and include your address. It's not presumptuous, just efficient. It's totally possible that your email will never receive a response. But again, if you don't ask, then the answer will always be no. NetGalley tip number 11. Do not take rejections personally. When your request for an ARC gets declined, which is bound to happen to the best of us, try not to harbor any ill will toward the author, the publisher, or toward any other early readers that may have had the fortune to get approved. I'll be the first to admit this is hard. I have been rejected for books and then seen them on the shelf after publication and thought, you told me no, so now I'm not going to buy you. That's totally not fair. We never have all the information about resource constraints, timing of approvals, or pre-existing relationships that went into the approval decisions. It's easy to blame rejections on the author because they are the most visible face behind the book. However, with most books that are traditionally published, the author is completely removed from the decisions of how many ARCs to send or who receives them. Regardless of your audience reach or how long you've been a fan of an author, we are not entitled to receiving anything for free. It's important to show gratitude for every single opportunity we get to read an author's work, especially when they're providing it to us at no cost. And that brings me to my final tip. NetGalley tip number 12. Reading is supposed to be fun. We're all here because we love to read, and we want to share about books we've enjoyed reading. Getting advanced copies of books should be an extension of that, not something that adds stress to our reading lives. Every reviewer goes through phases of feeling overwhelmed by the number of titles on their TBR, or feeling in a slump because of a few less than awesome books in a row. During these moments, I often have to recenter and remind myself that books are an entertaining hobby, and that I am so fortunate to have so many different books to choose from, both ARCs and the millions and millions of titles that have already been published. So that's all for today's episode. Are there any tips that I missed? What are some recommendations you have for readers just starting out on NetGalley? Let me know in the comments or on Instagram. I am @problematicfmc. Until next time, keep flipping those pages. Bye!